Hello and a very warm welcome. You are listening to KSG Podcast. This is an edited editorial for civil services aspirants. Today we are going to talk about a well-designed scheme. The source is Narayan Ramachandran, Mint. One little noticed scheme is bringing large manufacturing capacity to India. Lost in the news shuffle caused by the pandemic, the government's production linked incentive scheme, that is the PLI, instituted in April 2020 for large scale electronics manufacturing in India, has gained significant traction over the past year. It offers a simple and direct incentive based on incremental sales designed to boost domestic manufacturing and attract large investments in mobile phone and specified electronic component manufacturing units. In November 2020, the PLI scheme was extended to 10 more sectors, including food processing, battery storage, automobile components, and specialty steel. The PLI scheme is designed with four objectives. Number one, target specific product areas. Number two, introduce non-tariff measures in order to compete more effectively with cheap imports. Number three, blend domestic and export sales to make manufacturing competitive and sustainable. And number four, promote manufacturing at home while encouraging investment from within and outside India. The reason it has caught on is that the application process is not complicated and the incentive offered is very simple and tied to conditions that are specific and easy to calculate. The incentive is 4 to 6% of incremental sales with a defined base year. Incentives for electronics have been availed by several firms including Samsung, Foxconn, Honhai, Rising Star, Wistron and Pegatron. Of these, Foxconn, Honhai, Wistron and Pegatron are contract manufacturers for Apple iPhones. Among Indian mobile phone companies, Lava, Micromax, Paget and Optimus have been approved as beneficiaries. In the pharma sector, 130 companies have submitted expressions of interest, particularly as the incentives relate to active pharmaceutical ingredients or APIs and medical devices. In the electronic component sector, companies like Ascent Circuits, Visicon, Neolink and Vitesco have applied. If all these companies deliver on their projections, the incentive payments would total about 2 trillion rupees. The biggest chunk of that is for automobile and auto component companies, electronics and components and pharmaceuticals and APIs. Of the companies that have been in the program the longest, only Samsung has been able to meet its investment and production criteria. Other companies are now petitioning the government to move the benchmark year forward by declaring the pandemic as a force majeure event. Globally, the incentivization of manufacturing mostly takes a handful of different forms. Number one, special economic zones. By creating special jurisdictions, tailored logistics, and specific incentives, many countries have boosted manufacturing, most notably China in its Pearl River Delta. Number two, tax-based and credit-based approaches. Many countries, particularly those with federal structures, offer credit and/or tax incentives in their provinces to attract investment and employment. Number three, productivity and research and development based approaches. Countries have chosen to incentivize technology clusters and research in specific areas like plant biology or the human genome. India's PLI scheme resembles the piece rate method, which has actually been in decline worldwide. In this concept, which dates back to an era when it was common for producers to make only one product off an assembly line, teams and companies were incentivized to raise output. As manufacturing grew more complex, incentives grew in complexity as well, and generally today focus on productivity and quality rather than quantity. India's quantity-based PLI scheme appears to be one of a kind. Its elegance is that it has been fully thought and is extremely simple in its incentive construct. Think of it as a subsidy for sales, that is, a straight boost to the top line. Tax incentives matter only when companies become profitable. Credit incentives often turn into non-performing assets. Revenue incentives kick in immediately and encourage companies to get off the investment fence. If companies invest, then employment and development in that region follow, and with incentive payments, a virtuous cycle sets in. The scheme has been carefully constructed to adhere to World Trade Organization rules. By its very construct, the PLI scheme does not link the eligibility or quantum of its subsidy to exports and local value addition, thus making it WTO compliant. Its details influence companies to commit themselves to exports and local value addition targets, but indirectly. After a string of botched implementations, the government has got a major scheme right. It should go all out to enable all companies to meet their targets. Given the way the scheme is structured, the selected companies are large and fully capable of taking care of their own needs. The government can ease their way by further improving logistics, ensuring water and electricity, and generally enabling companies to produce and get their products to market. This will not only work in favor of employment and production but also kickstart private investments that have remained anemic for over 4 years now. That's all we could pack in this podcast. Stay tuned for more such podcasts. You can also get a PDF of this podcast on ksgindia.com. To join KSG India courses and to crack the IAS exam, visit ksgindia.com. Thanks for watching.